Okay, how are you all doing? Good? Good? Yeah, weather's good, right? It's good to see you. Welcome to Victory Pasadena. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Kit, and I'm happy to see you here. I hope that this could be part of your regular Sunday schedule. Before we go on to our word, please join me in prayer. Father, thank you for this Sunday. Thank you, Lord, for bringing us together as a scattered spiritual family. We gathered together, Lord, this afternoon. Lord, I pray that you would illumine your word as we listen to it, God. I pray, God, that this message will not just be informational, but it will be transformational, God. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, so as I start, I want to ask this question, right? So, has this happened to you before, right? Have you wandered around a parking lot area trying to look for your car? Has this happened to you before? Have you wandered around? I mean, it could be like you were in an outlet store, maybe a big mall. Maybe you rented a car, right? It's a car rental. You went to an outlet store, and then you're finished shopping, and so, where did I park? Where's my car, dude? Where's my car, dude? Or it could be like in an auditorium, we watch a concert, right? You got lost, you watch a Hillsong or a different, and then coming back, right? You're feeling like, oh, what happened? Where's my car? And now you're asking, where did I park my car? Have you wondered? Has this happened to you before? Raise of hands. Okay? Okay, good. Maybe a lot, huh? It's not, okay, so most of the time it happens to me. All right, so in this situation, are you normally the one who, I want to ask this, right? Are you normally the one who wonders, where's my car? Or are you the one helping that person find that car? Are you the one helping locate that person, or are you the one wondering? Raise your hands here. I don't have a car. Okay. You're wondering, when can I get my car? I wonder. All right, so here, helper or wanderer? No. Okay, on this side. At the back? Wandering or? You wonder. Okay, yes. Now I wonder. All right, so, Kid, why are you asking me this question? So, the reason why I'm asking this, it's actually connected to my message today, right? So, how? We will see. Okay, so, we are ending our series, Living Faith. After 19 weeks, guys, after 19 weeks, we are ending our series called Living Faith, the book of James. Who among you here appreciate the book of James? You know, come on. Yeah, so clap. We embrace that, right? Come on, this is like Living Faith to be practical. The practical learnings that we get from the book of James, just remarkable, right? So, anyway, so let's go ahead and look at the word today. It says here in James 5:19-20, it says here, my brothers and sisters, if one of you should wander from the truth, and someone should bring that person back, remember this, whoever turns a sinner from the error of their way will save them from death and cover a multitude of sins. Alright, so, okay, hold on, let me just move this. I'm trying to control it. Trying to wonder if this will work. Okay, so, alright, so in the final instructions here of James, as he closes his letter to the believers, from the previous topic on patience and perseverance, remember, and last Sunday we talked about the power of prayer, the power of faith, right? As we put our faith in Him, there's power as we come together in prayer, and we, as a believer, there is power in prayer, right? So James here is highlighting another topic, which is which is if any one of you would wonder, bring that person back, right? So James is reminding his brothers and sisters in the faith that some of the believers, here's the truth, some of the believers have wandered away from the truth. You know, they were being persecuted because as they were scattered from the get-go, James wrote it in his letter, like, okay, to the nations who were scattered, the 12 nations, right? I mean, the 12 nations who were scattered along the nations. So what I'm trying to say is that they were scattered, they were being persecuted, and because of that persecution, they have wandered away from the truth, right? So this is what we're going to look here, right? So what is wonder, right? Let's look here. What is the definition of wonder? Wonder from the truth, right? So it says here, wonder is to go away. It's the definition. To depart, to stray off, to deviate, right? To go astray. So that means if you are going this way, as a believer, you decided to go which way? Do you continue going up? No, you turn away and then you went to the other side, right? Not following the truth. What is the truth? You will see here. Right? There's a reason why some have wandered away. It could be because of the many sufferings, like what I mentioned earlier, sufferings, trials, persecution that they have experienced. And instead of pressing on, instead of having that joy, persevering, and continuing the faith, it says there, right, in James 1, to remember, consider it pure joy, right? Consider pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, enduring testing and trials. So instead of having that joy, they have decided to wander away from the truth. And that is the truth, ladies and gentlemen. So, an example of this, if you have, those of them who have given or fell into the trials and temptations, right? In verse, the initial one, and then second is that, as mentioned in James 1, 13 to 15, we had that topic. It's that they have decided to live, instead of having that godly wisdom, they have lived in the wisdom of the world. That's why they have wandered away from the truth. And also in James 3, this I'm just kind of like summarizing after the 19 discussions. These are the things that they have lived in pride, they have lived in the ways of the world. Now, they have decided, as they were supposed to be going to this direction, they have turned away from that because of the testing and trials, because of the many trials that they have endured. So James mentioned about wonder from the truth, right? Though it wasn't specific, James could be referring to the truth of who Jesus is, right? I just have to highlight it there. The truth of the gospel. What is the truth, right? Truth about doctrine, he didn't mention it there, right? Wonder from the truth. So that's why I'm saying that it could be a doctrine or practice. It could be about their faith in Jesus as the truth. Right? In John 14:6, it says here, I am the way, the truth, and the life, right? So no one comes to the Father except through me. So as some of the believers in the faith have wandered away, James is giving instructions on what they should do, right? So he is actually encouraging them. Today I'd like to share with you only two things, right? That we can learn from James' encouragement. That as Christ followers, number one, we should look after the well-being of our fellow believers. Right? Look after the well-being of our fellow believers. Right? It says here in James 5:19, someone should bring that person back. My brothers and sisters, if one of you should wander from the truth, somebody should bring that person back. So you should bring that person back. Now the question is, why? Why should I do that? I have many concerns on my own. Should I do that? Let's look at other translations, what he is saying here, right? So it says here, someone should bring that person back. And then, in CEV version, you should try. You should try to bring that person back. At least try. And in the message, we can see here that don't write them off. Don't write them off. Go after them. Get them back. Question is why? What's the importance of this? Why is he saying this? Why should I bring that person back? Of course, we know the answer, but we are going to dig deeper into this. As James is commanding the believers that some of them have wandered away, not to write them off, go after them. It could be that it's not happening. it is not happening, it could also because as they go through their sufferings, they might have a tendency just to look after ourselves. Isn't it? Like if you have many sufferings, we have every day, there's the mundane reality of the world, like the mundane routine that you go through, and then it's like you experience as a Christian, as a believer, you experience trials. Who among you here doesn't experience any challenges in their life? Raise your hand. Oh. Okay, no one, right? All of us experience that. So that's why, as we experience that, James is also saying here is that we should look after one another. That's what he's saying here. But because the truth is, there's self-preservation versus thinking about others. Self-preservation versus thinking about others. What does that mean? Self-preservation. Right? So self-preservation is like preservation of oneself from destruction or harm. Like that is actually our nature, right? It's like you have to take care of yourself first. It says here the definition that it's destruction or harm. You don't want something bad to happen to you, right? It's like, oh, I have to take care of my family first. I have to take care of myself first. I have to take care of this. I have to take care of that, right? So and now you're telling me, now James is telling me, you have to do this? Do you have to look after other people? No. This is our initial. Even me, I can say that I have to take care of myself. So because that is self-preservation. That's self-preservation versus thinking about others. That is the human nature. Right? So a natural or instinctive tendency to act as to preserve one's own existence. You know, every day, every week, it's like you go through the week, you experience trials and challenges, right? So, and then you expect me to look after other people? Come on. Even I experience this is hard, Lord. This Christian walk is so hard. And then you expect me to look after other people? You expect me to do one-to-one with that one? Oh, you expect me to lead a victory group this season? Look at my health concern. Look at I'm in so much debt right now. It's like you expect me to do this, right? So it is. Have you experienced something like that before? Right? It is, right? So going through personal challenges, and God, here's the thing, God is impressing someone to you. Hey, Mon, look out for this person. Pray for that person. Hey, Jesse, it's like as you're going through your health, like, okay, I have so many tests, exam to do, and you expect me to do this? You know, stuff like that. Why? Why do one-to-one? Why lead a victory group, right? Why should I do this? You know what the truth is? When you experience that, that is not your nature. It is the Holy Spirit impressing upon you. Because left on our own, we wouldn't do that. Why would you do it? I'm so busy. I have so many things to do, right? I don't even have time to sleep. Oh, you know, that's the reality. I have to take care of my kids. I have to do this. I have to take care of my spouse. I have to do. And then you expect me to look after other people. But that's the reality. That's what's happening in James here. They're not looking after each other. Right? So, that's why living faith is not just about doing it alone. Let me say that again. Living faith is not just about doing it alone, but thinking about others. You have to think about other people, right? James is giving them a charge. It's actually a charge. As we look here, there's a charge to do it. As it seems, it's not a norm. The same situation that was happening 2,000 years ago, as I was studying in my Christian walk, it seems like it still applies here today. Right? So, it's not a norm for them. As Christ followers, we should care about the well-being of our fellow believers. This final instruction of James, it's interesting. Like if you look at the New Testament, the epistles, you look at the other greetings, like or the final instruction of Paul, you look at the Romans, the final instruction of other, like his instructions their instructions are different compared here. That's why James is highlighting this. Hey, this is a commandment. This is my admonition to you. Look after one another, right? So again, I say this, living faith is not just about helping yourself. It's not just about yourself, but helping others, helping other people, right? So, okay, in the text it also says that if one, you can see there, if one of you wanders from the truth, it means that it is a possibility. That means it could be any one of us. It means that it could be your victory group leader. It means that it could be your spouse. It could be your friend. It could be any one of us. A simple text, a simple phone call, a simple, hi, hey, hello, how are you? How are you doing? Right? It matters because we should, as followers of Christ, that's what we should do. Right? Check on each other, right? How are you doing? How's your day? You'd be surprised, like when you text somebody, that. Like, you know, when somebody's texting, replying to the text, that's a lot. I'm just saying, how are you? Right? So because that's what it is. We go through the week, we're so busy, caught up with a lot of stuff, but it's not like, let's be real here, folks. We have to look after each other. We have to. Because it says here, James also already knew. It could be any one of you, friends. It could be any one of you. That's the reality. It could be because the reality that it is not happening. That's why he said there. Hey, James is pointing out the importance of this matter. James is describing the reality that if you walk away from the truth, you are living in sin. You are living in sin. So that means, it's like you don't go, it's like it is actually, when we walk away from the truth, it's not like automatic, or like, it's like in an instant, bam, I'm already here, walking away from the truth. No, it's gradual. It's like the step by step. It's like one time, it's like, okay, I decide, okay, for today I'm too tired. I won't, the relational habits, that's what we're talking about. Relational habits that we have to develop as followers of Christ. We need to follow. We need to develop that. Because on our own, it's going to be difficult, right? So, looking after fellow believers to those who have fallen into sin. So, here's what it is, right? So, what's your initial reaction? What's your initial response when a believer wanders away? Let me ask you. It's like, he's not here anymore. Buting kasi, something like that. Is that your response? It's like, he's not walking away from the truth. Good. You deserve that. He deserves. I've been following up with him. It's not, I text him. It's not fun. I told you, attend that victory group, bro. I told you. Now you're wandering away. So something like that. Or are you happy or are you sad? What's your heart? Like, do you still run after that person? Do you? Right? So what are the indicators that a believer might be wondering? The things that a believer loves to do is now a burden. The things that you love to do for God, now it's a burden for you. Check that. It's a heart check. What are the things that you love to do for God? Remember the first time you would serve, first time you attend the victory group, first time you attend church? It's like, Lord, thank you. Like, this is me, like you give, like you give your all, and then now, oh man, I have to attend 2:30 to serve. Come on, I'll go 2:30, 2:32. It's like it's now a burden, right? So I'm not saying we're all bad people. Actually, we're sinners, but God saved us from that. But this is a different story. So the things that the believer loves to do for God is now a burden. Right? So some indicators, there's a heart check. Sometimes a person won't admit he is wandering. When you reach out to that person, he won't admit it. Maybe he doesn't know he's wandering away. Like, that's what he thinks, or person thinks he still is on the right track. Unless somebody comes up to that person to speak the truth in love, hey bro, how are you? Unless somebody would check up on you. How's your walk? Are you still reading the Word? Do you still spend time with God? Is there accountability? That is the case here. There should be accountability. It's not like you have to, I have to be accountable to my Victory group leader. No. You're accountable to God, first and foremost. You're accountable to God. Your Christian walk should be accountable to God, right? So, for example, at least when somebody would wander away from the truth light, he would say, at least I'm still praying, or at least I'm still posting something in social media. At least I'm still liking those posts from Mamilita. Or like, I will put a heart emoji on that one, the devotional verse. It's like, at least I'm liking that. I mean, those are religious words that you do, right? The thing is like, how's your heart? How's your walk? God would ask you, hey, how are you? How are you? Right, so, remember James' instruction. Don't write them off. In the Message version, don't write them off. Of course, I'm not saying like, continue pursuing that person. No, right? So, if we did our part, there will come a time. Of course, if we did our part, then, and they still choose to be in the same direction, at least you did your part. But don't get stuck with that person. Continue praying for them. There are different ways on how you can pray for them, love them, So, but reach out to other people as well. Pray, Lord, who should I reach out to? What's my next step regarding this, right? So, the question is, how can you help others if you can't help yourself? That is the hard check. As you look in your walk right now, how are you? James is saying, how are you? How's your walk? Have you wandered away from the truth? And so, another lesson we can learn from James, that as followers of Christ, we should help others to be restored in their relationship with God. As followers of Christ, we should help others to be restored in their relationship with God. Relationship restored. Why? How? Because as we help others to bring them back, in James 20, it says here, He's giving us a result that we should be reminded of. Right? I mentioned this earlier. Remember this. There's an admonition. There's a charge. Like, hey, remember this. Like, James is encouraging us, the believers, like, hey, remember this one. It's like, this one is important, right? So, remember this. Whoever turns a sinner, that means that sinner is going from, look at that, from a believer, now a sinner. Because he's wandered away from the truth. That is the reality. James is calling, on this statement right here, is saying the believer is now a sinner. You are a sinner if you're walking away from the truth. James is saying here. I'm not making this up. This is what it is, right? So, turns a sinner will save them from death. If you are walking away from the truth, then there's death coming up. Death with your relationship with God. Right? So, that's why James is giving this admonition. Help them to be restored. Help them to be restored in this with their relationship with God. Because the people who were living in faith may now have dead faith. That at first you have so much faith. Oh Lord, wow, left and right you recognize God. In my workplace, Lord, thank you. In my family, Lord, thank you. There's so much faith. I pray this and then, wow, thank you, God. But your faith is like, I'm being sure of what I hope for, being certain of what I do not see. There's so much things happening, but you recognize God. Now, do you still see that in your life? Maybe you have dead faith because they are living in sin. That's one. We should help the wanderer to be, letter A, restored from death to life. We should help the believer so that they can be restored from death to life. When a person turns away from sin, he will be restored from death to life. From death to life. They are not walking in truth. You help them to be restored. Right? Help them from their dead relationship with God. The burden is for us to help them. There is a burden. James is saying that for that person to be restored in the relationship with God, because it says here in James 1:15, we discussed this in the earlier weeks, right? Then, after desire has conceived, it gives birth to sin. And sin, when it's full grown, gives birth to death. You know, maybe it's like 9 months. Oh, I'm about to give birth. Sin. Death. Right? That's what it is. Death. It's your own doing. Right? That's what you did. Death. You experienced that. That's why we should be checking out. Restore that person from death to life. James is reminding them. He's giving this as a result of what will happen if a wanderer, as he's now referring to a sinner, right? So the sinner will be saved from eternal death. It is important for a believer to realize that he is wandering. Because if he doesn't know, if he's like, even if you say that, you know how it is sometimes, like, you are so firm that you're so, okay, I'm okay. What are you saying? I'm still good, right? But people around you say, oh, what's happening? Are you open to listen? Right? So, he needs to repent and turn back to God. Remember the story of the prodigal son who realized the errors of his ways? The father didn't say, the father stayed, right? The prodigal son decided what? He was there and just realized, just like a one-click moment. Hey, I know I sinned, but I have to go back. It's like, my father's right there. I'll just turn away from this one and go back to my father. And right? And then once the father saw him, he ran after, right? That's what it is. We should help. We should help that person to be restored from death to life. Another reason why we should help others restore back the relationship with God is to bring that person from what? Unforgiveness to forgiveness, right? So, did I click? Restore from unforgiveness to forgiveness, right? So, restore from unforgiveness to forgiveness. Right? In James 20, it says here, cover a multitude of sins. Not just one, not just two, but a multitude. A lot. When you restore that person from unforgiveness, it will be to forgiveness, and it will cover a multitude of sins. You will be restored, not only you will be restored from death to life, but you will be restored from unforgiveness to what? Forgiveness. You will be forgiven. You know, so let's look at the other versions, right? In James, and in NIRV version, it says here, God will erase many sins by forgiving them. It's not the person who's helping that person, who's like, okay, I'm helping you. No. It's not the bigger leader who will, okay, I forgive you. It's like, no. It's like, God is the one who's forgiving that person, right? So, in NLT version, it says here, bring about the forgiveness of many sins. We'll once again have a right standing with God. When you help that person, you will have the right standing with God. He will be restored and will have a right relationship with God again. And so as James highlights here, every believer matters to God. Every believer. Look at the person beside you. Tell that person, you matter to God. Turn the other way. You matter to God. Huh? Alright, good. Same as how God values the lost people. God values the lost people, right? Who hasn't heard about the truth of the gospel.